Hi all, good morning. I'm Vijay Jethani. I'm Cloud Solution Architect at Microsoft. To set the context right, we are having the two exams for this session, okay? GitHub Administration and the GitHub Actions. So if you see from the exam perspective, the duration of the each exam is 2 hours, okay? And you will be, for each of the exams, the questions varies. Like for GitHub Administration, you have 66 questions. Similarly, for GitHub Actions, you have 72 questions. So before we go ahead with actual topics, just want to share my experience with exams. So while I cleared both exams in first attempt, I gone go through whatever the practical experience I had on the GitHub. Okay, and there exactly I found that apart from what the practical experience, you also need to remember or from the concept perspective, what are exactly required, what are the, like, in terms of terminology and the concept, what are they called for, and how do you actually navigate, or I would say connect dots when you actually integrate each of those technologies. Okay, so this is all about the enterprise product of the GitHub. Okay, so obviously each and everything whatever we do here or whatever we talk about are from this whatever is being written here. Okay, so if you see each and every line item, it sets the approximate percentage and the number of questions you can expect for that exam. Okay, so ideally what we are trying to say here is it will be mix of practical plus your theoretical knowledge what you have acquired. Okay, and 6 months to 1 year is sufficient for you to clear the exam, but having you implement that in the customer premises, that is always a plus. Okay, so if you are having 1 to 2 experience, obviously you will be able to clear the exam without any challenges. Okay, so now let's get started. So first of all, uh, on, say suppose if you are starting completely new to it, so just want to give you how you can get started. So there is something called, from the GitHub perspective, there is a module, and I will share each of these modules with you while I go through that. Okay, so in that module, basically, you have to start with what exactly is a GitHub. Okay, so I can just open in the new tab so that we can go through step by step. So this module from what is GitHub gives us a good comparison of the Git versus GitHub at first place. Okay, so like from the distributed version systems, and then you have to obviously go around saying how you actually working on the UI of GitHub. Okay, so because obviously it eases our day-to-day task from the collaboration perspective and end-to-end if you are working in the enterprise, right? So there are the key features given and all those things. This gives you a brief, like in a layman's term, how you get started on each and every topic from the repository perspective. Okay. Similarly, if you see the actions, this helps you with the what the workflows look like, what is the project management looks like, what you should do, the clone versus fork, all these examples or whatever they have been put for in this module gives you the base start of from the scratch start of how you can get started on GitHub if you are completely new to the GitHub. Okay, so this is the one module I thought I should discuss first before we go ahead to the actual exam session. Okay, so this gives you more towards repository and sets the context of the distributed version system of Git versus GitHub. Okay, so this I will share with you so that you can go through that afterwards once you get some time. Okay, it explains very nicely about each and every concept and how that is taken care in the GitHub world. Okay, now coming back to our actual GitHub exam content or the module which you have to go through is these modules. Okay, so there are on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there are 8 modules, okay, which you have to cover. And as I said, this should be mix of your practical knowledge, what you are doing on ground versus what you are learning in this particular MS Learn modules. Okay, and these are available on MS Learn, so we have access to that. So let's get started with the first of that. Okay, so from this, I think we covered what was that, and there is also, let me close this out so that we directly go to the administration module. Okay, so here I think most of you will be aware of what we cover through these modules. There's a concept plus the exercise. Okay, so let me go directly to the administration part, and I will be briefing you what you should take care of, like from GitHub administration perspective, just to give set a context, right? If you have set up your account, okay, at the personal level, that means you have the personal GitHub account of GitHub handle, okay. With that, the administration start at your level, okay, that is a personal level. The only way you can collaborate in your personal account is you, that means the admin, you are the admin because you hold the personal account or GitHub handle for yourself. And the other way to give access is your collaborators, which you will invite to that particular repository or the account while you collaborate. So that is the personal way of looking at. Now, coming to the GitHub administration, this is more towards how you organize this in an enterprise. Okay, so if when I say enterprise, there is a structure. So there is a team. That means obviously we work in a groups or according to how we organize our teams based on the work we do. So it can be a hierarchical group, like you are working on a Java as a technology, you are working on .NET or technology, or I would say even the project wise, you can create that hierarchy. So we call that as a team. Okay, so this is the administration at the team level. Similarly, the other administration level is at org level. Okay, that means an organization. Within that, you will have a different teams, and then finally you have the enterprise. So what we are trying to say here is the hierarchy is a lowest level is your own repository. Second level of management is your team. Okay, small groups. Third level goes above that is your organization, and obviously the enterprise can manage all the organization. So that is a 4 level of administration which you have to remember for this particular exam. Okay, now to go in depth, as I say, you require the concepts as well. So I would suggest you to go through what you can do within each of these particular hierarchy or from the permissioning or the management perspective. Okay, so for team, I think this is what you can do within the team. Okay, so right from creating team, managing it, and managing repositories, access, visibility, and doing obviously a number of tasks within that, kind of reviews, getting the all the project management setups and all those things will that is what you will do within a team as a small group. Okay, so you have to go through that particular concepts related to that. Okay, similarly, if I come to organization level, now this will be kind of I have to enforce everything below me. That means all the teams and what I'm managing as a whole. Okay, so obviously it will have a provisioning of on the team, how you maintain the team, how you take care of the policies, how you take care of the permissioning level at those particular repositories. Obviously there are a lot of the other moving parts, because organization means obviously there will be a number of teams working that. So obviously it can be the permissioning can be distributed across based upon how the organization structure is. Okay, so teams is the base level. Above that you will come to the organization level. Okay, so if you see the change from what you have in the team, what I have been saying you here is this is more towards doing your job done on repositories and what actions you can take up from the project perspective or the review you will do within your team. But when I come here to the organization, here I have the even more towards how I maintain the base level, right? Base level permissionings, and how do I maintain the security overall across an organization. Similarly, obviously the billing is one of the most important thing, which obviously I cannot maintain at the team level. It has to be at the organization level. So you will see some additions for how you maintain the billing as well. Okay, so the reason I'm not going line by line, because it will be very boring for you to go through all of them. Okay, that is the reason I will give you, or maybe you once you read this through, I think you will get that concept. So from an exam perspective, there will be a comparison of, or there will be questions around how the permissioning works at the team level, how it works at the org level, how it works at the enterprise level. So from this itself, you will get that complete context of for the relevant questions which you will get in exams. Okay, so you just have to read that, and obviously, as I said, practical or concept, you have to memorize them to some extent, not all. If you are working practically, then obviously you know most of things, but then from the concept perspective, at least you should know some terms and terminology around these, the administration at respective levels. Okay, so again, I'm repeating, the administration happens at the starts from your own account, that is a personal, from the repository as a base, goes towards the team as a group, and above the hierarchy you start with an organization, and then top of that is obviously the enterprise managing the n number of organizations. So that is how in simple sense you can put across the hierarchy. Okay, and obviously if you are working on enterprise and organizations, you obviously need to have a way to integrate with the single sign-ons, and everything will come into picture from the organization onwards. Okay, so while you read this through, I think make sure you are also making your own notes, so that while you revise this, you understand each and every topic from there onwards. Okay, so a base hierarchy, this is what the GitHub administration is all about. Okay, now let's move on to the next part on the how the authentication works. Okay, now this also you will get I would say at least 3 to 4 of questions on how you actually authenticate to the GitHub. Okay, what are the ways to authenticate to the GitHub? So you will get an options. Obviously it can be multiple choice or a single choice depending upon what that is all about. Okay, so username and password, personal access tokens. I think you might have seen while you work with the APIs, or I would say CLIs, you require them, and SSH keys. This is more towards how you bring your own authentication system, right? In terms of private and public key structure. Now, one thing to still note here is wherever they say note or something, make sure you also make note from wherever you are studying that through. Those are also from some of the questions in exam. Okay, so that will be helpful to you wherever they say some notes in the respective sections. Okay, now you might have heard about this or this as well. Now deploy key, maybe you might have used, and but this is something different than SSH keys, because this is more towards getting that tied to a user account, right? Or using that private and public key infrastructure to authenticate at that instance. But what if I want to have that tied directly to my repository, even though it is a single repository? So in that case, obviously you will get something on deploy keys as well. So how do you tie the access or authentication to that particular repository level? Okay, so this is the method to use that while you want to have user access to the repository. Okay, so this authenticates and obviously authorize you for that particular account or to that repository. Okay, so just remember these names, as I said, the GitHub authentication options, and we have 4 from this, whatever I see from this. Okay, and then based on moving ahead from this, that if you consider that as a primary and moving ahead to the multi-factor authentication, you will look at how the multi-factor authentication. So now this also there is like right from, even if you have the personal account, you can enable the multi-factor authentication. Okay, so that is obviously there with you right from beginning. However, something to look at from an organization perspective is your SAML SSOs. Okay, so here also you will get couple of, I would say even 3 to 4 of that in a different way. They will ask you the SAML SSO and what are the supported identity providers. Okay, so identity providers are nothing but how would you authenticate, because obviously if GitHub does not manage that identity, it has to go somewhere to authenticate you or get you into the system before you can actually see that repository. Okay, so these are some authentication or supported GitHub identity providers from Federation Services, then Azure Active Directory, Okta, One Login, and Ping One. Obviously, this is bit skewed. I will show you in the next session or next topic. This will give you exactly, there are a few more to that. Similarly, if you are working on an enterprise server on your on-premise, there is something even you can integrate from an Oracle Directory Enterprise Edition as well. Okay, and Open LDAP, I think most of you will know that, but then not much to do on integration part in exam. They will not ask you that how do you actually create that identity provider or how you integrate the identity provider, but you will get some basics around which are the identity providers and which is supported by GitHub. Okay, those kind of the questions will be there in that exam. So let's move ahead and see it more in detail. Okay, so this is what I was trying at the beginning, like how you manage the permissioning. So hierarchy starts from your own personal account and then it goes towards team, organization, and enterprise. Okay, then in repository permissioning level, how you actually do that permissioning levels. Now there can also be question around saying how what are the permission levels in your own personal account. Okay, so there are only two permissioning levels in your personal account. One is something which you have as an admin. Okay, that, and other one is just the collaborators. You won't see read or whatever you see at the repository permissional levels from organization. Okay, so there's a difference between a personal account and how you see this permissioning from an organizational account. So take note of that as well. Okay, so now looking at it from an organization perspective, if you see, we have read, triage, write, maintain, and admin. Okay, so they will ask you like, I'm creating a team. Okay, and I have to give that person just write access, or he will be just managing the code to that particular repository. What kind of access I should give to them? So depending upon what kind of work he do. Okay, so if read is just kind of they are not contributing anything to it, they just want to view, have a look of what is there in that repository. Okay, in a simple sense. Try is something he along with what we are doing from the read perspective, he also manages the issues and pull requests. So these are some terms you have to remember while you go through the exam. Okay, the triage can do everything from read plus managing issues and pull requests, but without write. Okay, so remember the terms, or maybe while making, if you are making some notes, I think in the notepad you can just make notes accordingly. Now write is whatever you have in triage plus write access to that. Okay, to actively push to your projects, and obviously you can manage the review part as well. Okay, similarly, like if you are a project, you're managing the project or you are the team lead, so you will obviously need to have complete access to the repository. Okay, without giving anyone access to the or any respective actions, or maybe I would say from the security permissioning, right? So at the org level or from that per se, because here what we are talking is from an organization perspective only. So this is without sensitive or destructive actions. You can maintain everything. You can do each and everything from that particular repository level. Okay. Here, admin, obviously, he can manage all the security permissioning and obviously can delete or take a destructive actions. Normally, even deleting the repository is also considered as a destructive actions. So you can go through each of them according to what you see at the repository permissioning level. Now going ahead to the team. Now considering same hierarchy, we are now going from repository to the team. Team, there you will see member and maintainer. Only two permissioning level you can have at the team level. And again, everything goes from what they are able to manage through and how it flows within that particular team as a member. Okay, so member and maintainer is what you have at the team level. Similarly, as we are at the org level, right? So it while you actually go to that what permission you have, you will see these kind of the access. Okay, at that level, the base role is something which is flowing from an organization. Okay, so how many members have according to what organization set as a base, and something which you set directly on that particular team will show you in that particular direct access to that team, and those are members or outside collaborators which you have invited. Okay, so this is how the look and feel of this will be. So I would suggest for this, you use this as well as something practically on your personal account. Okay, that will help you to actually validate what you are being learning through this, and validating that while you learn through that exam. Okay, so these all screenshots are good for you to at least know what that is, but better visibility you will get in your own personal account. Or you can also create an organization account, which is kind of free for around 28 days, I believe. So that way you will like also learn through what the enterprise flow will look like in that particular organization. Okay, now coming to the organization permissions, if you see here we only have member and maintainer. Now going to an organization, obviously I need to manage the billing as well. So that is one addition I have. Apart from that, whatever was the team maintainer, now it is here, it is owner and the member. Okay, same goes for the permissioning. Remember the permissioning flow from the top will flow the way the repositories were used to manage. Only difference will be if you want to block something from an org and you want to maintain a repository, then obviously the repository will override that. Okay, what you have set at the, because these permissions are cumulative. Like say suppose I have set a hard at some level from an enterprise, or I am not giving any access from that particular level. If I'm maintaining that or have a direct access to the teams, obviously it will only have the access to that teams. Similarly, if I go to the repository level and want to maintain at the repository level, so I will set from the that perspective. Okay, so if you see here, they also given the good description on that, that members will not be able to clone and pull public repositories. Okay, so this is a more restrictive. But if you want them to give at least read by base, and then you go ahead and give them a more permission on that repository or the team level, that way they will have a collaborative, or I would say the additional access at that level, which is a like lower level. Okay, so if say suppose you are managing an organization, at least you want them to read have to read to that organization whatever repository. But if it is very sensitive enough, then make sure you don't give them any and let that particular base level decide what they have to go for that. Okay, so depending upon that, I think as I said, you will collaborate, or I would give you will give the permission whether it is read, write, or admin. Okay, so the reason for this also, I say that you go directly to your organization or the permission level on your personal account, so you should be able to mix match both of them. Okay, now coming to enterprise, this again looks same, right? So owner, member, and billing manager, same enterprise also. Which the difference here is, at enterprise you will have a policy to actually get that done. Okay, so choose default repository permission for the members, because this is as you are doing at that higher hierarchy. Obviously if you want to force that to all the organization within that, you can have that in place with the help of policy. Okay, so this is what you have from the permissioning per se. Rest I think you already have the admin here as well, read, write. Okay, and none, that is also available here. So I'm not reading each one by one because I just want you to go through each of them. Okay, because otherwise we won't be able to cover the complete set of what you have to go through. Okay, so in first, from the administration perspective, what we have learned so far is how the repository looks like, how the permissioning works at the repository level, how the permissioning works at the team level, and org level, and the enterprise. So this is what is we covered in the base, at least till this level. Okay, so if you go ahead, they also are given some knowledge checks. Okay, say suppose you want to grant a user permission to add or remove organization members to team. So if you see, they even if they are saying they will be tricky that organization members, but to where team. So obviously I don't need a permission more than a team maintainer. So that is how the questions will be, and there will be also multiple choice where you are bound to make mistakes if you select one or two options, and there is also one more option to be required. So they will give you that what is required, whether two to be selected, three to be selected, but make sure you understand or read that through on the complete question and then accordingly answer that. Okay. Similarly, like organization owner, you want to ensure everyone who is signed to corporate network. Obviously, see here who is signed to corporate network. Now here, this obviously there's a hint of SAML. Okay, so make sure you understand that and then accordingly select that from the answering that particular question. And also one more thing to note is, irrespective of whether you know the answer or you don't know the answer, there is something at the top right hand side to flag that question so that you can review that at back. You can come back and can edit your choice for whatever you have answered at that point of time. That you can do for both exams. Okay. Now, what is the appropriate repository permission level for contributors who actively push changes to the repository? Okay. Now, if you see what is an appropriate repository permission level for contributors who actively push changes. Now they are saying just pushing the changes to the repository, correct? So going to the read, obviously they won't be able to push. The next nearest for that is write. So let's see what is the, so you can also, like, while I was going through, even I has a, as they directly say contributors, I also selected maintain at first point of time. But then I came and really read through that question, what exactly it is saying. Push changes. If it clearly says that it has to also go on raising the pull request or for the respective reviews at accordingly, or add some permissioning. So make sure you understand that from the complete hierarchy perspective. Base is read, more towards that is write. Reviewing, obviously you can do with that, but of the maintainer has more role over that. Okay, so you can also do the changes apart from the destructive changes, like you cannot delete repository. Apart from that, you can similarly you can't give the other changes to the security level things. Okay, so that is what is the difference what I have shown you from the triage, like who only wants to do the pull request review. So just read that thoroughly before you answer that. And if you don't know answer, just click the flag above, select anyone and go ahead and you can edit at back once you go to this particular. Okay, so this is what was the first module. Okay, we just covered the first module as of now. So let come back to the, so this is what we covered as of now. Okay, so let me speed up the things, otherwise I think we won't be able to cover this. So now on GitHub products perspective, what are the GitHub products? This is more towards the licensing, okay, and how you license your product. So obviously free is where we start with our personal account. Okay, so so the way I read this through is, there is only two way of looking at, either you go for an enterprise or you go with the personal account. That is what I see. Okay, because from the licensing perspective, that is how you purchase that. So free, we all of us start with that. Pro is again the extended version of that, but they have more features to how you collaborate with the external or how you do the review part, along with some additions to the GitHub action minutes as well as your storage capacity. So that is what, so ideally what I'm trying to say here is free and pro are towards the personal accounts. Team is the way you start with, or I would say the minimum what you require if you are working in a group and require a structure, a way to buy that for the team. Okay, so this is another licensing way, or I would say the license to be purchased for the team. After that, finally is an enterprise. Okay, so if you see again going to that same whatever the permissioning level you have seen and how that was organized, what we have seen is the enterprise accounts, and within that you have an organization accounts. Not necessary, as I said, that you always have more organizations created with an enterprise, but that can be a scenario where you have different entities to manage within an enterprise. Okay, so just go through each of them, and the important thing to note here is the note the number of minutes you have and accordingly the storage space you have for free. Similarly, if you're going for an organization, again free, you will get a team discussion and access control for managing those groups. Okay, now from pro perspective, as I said, this is an addition to the free account which you already have. Okay, so obviously the reviewers and other collaboration features will be there apart from which were not available as a part of your free account. So you can read them through, okay, from this feature perspective. Similarly, you compare this, what are the additions you're getting within the Pro. Okay, now this is something to note, and we had increased by, and this action minutes have increased by 1,000. Similarly is the storage limit. Okay, so this is what I was saying. You note, make sure you understand this, because there can be questions around that as well. Like while you see your own account as part of an organization, okay, you won't see the option for GitHub Pro. That means you cannot go to the GitHub Pro. So the equivalent of GitHub Pro is a GitHub team. So that is what they are saying. Equivalent for that is team. So that is what you will see here itself. Okay, so they have not mentioned is a version of GitHub Pro. So that means whatever the limits you see for the Pro, that limits will be available for the team as well. So this is how you have to read this through. Now, obviously, as I said, everything will be flowing from an enterprise. So this is how you will create that enterprise account, and accordingly, based on the plan you have purchased, you can have addition like GitHub security or GitHub advanced security on top of that, and accordingly move further from there onwards. Okay, but important thing to note here is the enterprise supports or the IDP starts from here itself. Okay, that means for an organization to use that for their users, they have to have this in place. So ideally, I see the way you go from the purchasing this is you're free, then team start with, and then go for the enterprise so that you can license for that organization. It doesn't mean that if you have an enterprise account, you have to have a number of organizations. It's not necessary. It is even if one organization is there, but enterprise is the way to manage that at that root level. Okay, so that is what it meant for that. And again, authentication is one thing and access another thing while you actually read for the enterprise. Okay, so that is where I think we will come this to a deep how you can actually automate the access, the way you automate with the help of the Azure AD groups automatically. That means for you don't have to do anything at the repository level or giving them access on that particular from that org perspective. It is the group which you will manage, which is the easier way to do. Like even if you are to add access or remove access, you will directly do through the group. So let's come back. I think that we have the different topics for this. Okay, the other way is how you can obviously there will be short question on how you can share between the GitHub Enterprise server and your GitHub Enterprise cloud. Okay, so there you will get a obviously short question on GitHub Connect. So it is very useful for how you share the data between these two, between enterprise and the enterprise server and enterprise cloud. Okay, so and obviously the advanced security is the enterprise feature, so you can't have that within your teams. You have to have enterprise, and then on top of that you can have the GitHub advanced security. And again, there's some limits to that. And if you are managing that in cloud, this is what the service level agreement they give you, and obviously the centralized billing option and billing. And remember, the billing can be done at org level. That is the reason you see the billing manager even in organization. Similarly, there is a billing manager at the enterprise. So there will be a confusing scenario. Just read through the question properly while you get those while you answer them. And you, as I said, if you are not sure, don't waste time. You will have 2 hours and you have to come back. You have time to come back if you actually whatever you know you completed that successfully. So just flag that, select for that point of time and come back while you review that again. Okay, so that is how it will be helpful for you to clear the exam. Okay, let's move ahead on the another part of licensing. Now this we were doing at the personal level, enterprise level or teams level, how you purchase that product. But what about the individual features like GitHub Actions? Similarly, there is depending upon in that itself, there is a different multiplier. So I'm just coming to that multiplier. So suppose if you have used the Ubuntu machine, then the multiplier is just 1. That means whatever minutes you have used, that will remain same. 10 minutes, then obviously you will be charged for the 10 minutes, or GitHub Actions will be used for 10 minutes. But what if you are using Windows machine? The multiplier is 2. That means 10. If you are used 10 minutes, the multiplier will show according to you actually consume 20 minutes. Similarly, if you are using Mac OS from the hosted, the multiplier is 10. Okay, so they will obviously can ask you which is the costliest. So Mac obviously is the costliest, and the which is least is the Linux one. Okay, this also works greater to the pricing terminology as well. Okay, the other thing which you can note here is from the what is the storage. Okay, how you are charged for the storage. Obviously we are charged per GB, and that concept remains same for from the Azure perspective. Okay, you will be charged for that particular storage. Okay, so GitHub package is what they're talking about. So these are the individual components which are charged, like apart from buying the license, this is what you will be seeing in your bill. Okay, if you go about whatever the limits assigned to that. Okay, and obviously the best way for this again is, as I said, you have to come to your own org, and I will show you in my org as well how you can actually see each of them. Okay, so just give me a minute before I come here. Other one is code space billing. Okay, even though we have started with that, as of now we're giving one machine, but the plan is to give you the cluster depending upon what you select from these options. Okay, and you will be billed according to number of machines which are running in the code space. Okay, so this is what is available. Okay, so obviously it is from the general availability perspective, this is the machines you support as of now. Okay, so these things you have to remember from what is the terminology around each of them and how we are using those products. And obviously this is something I think there is nothing on this how you do the context switching and everything, but for your knowledge I think that is good enough to go through that. Okay, and obviously how you manage the at the team level, how you manage an organization, and how you manage at the enterprise, that you will get through on your own account itself. As I said, if you don't have, go and create one. You will get some free trial for that particular 28 days, what I remember. So, and you can have hands on to that along with your personal account which you already have. Okay, so this is how the look and feel will be, and I'm also showing you in my organization account. Okay, and obviously at some point of time they're also giving you the further reading. That means what we are trying to say here is you go with your experience, go with whatever we are saying from this MS Learn modules plus the GitHub docs. Okay, that way it makes you complete from that particular terminology and what the concepts you have to build through. Okay, so let me check if from an organization perspective. Yeah, so this is the my organization I have. Okay, so if I start from billing and plans, at I'm as I manage at my enterprise level. Okay, so this will show that I am using some demo account, and as of now I have just used these many minutes for my private repo. I'm not using anything from a GitHub Advanced Security as of now. So this is how the look and feel will be for your organization once you create that. You're using any storage, how the code space is, and what kind of cores you're using till that level and use hours. I think they will be providing that information as well. And this is more towards how you keep the large files. Okay, so LFS system, I think you may be aware of how you creating the and what is the bandwidth. Okay, so this is basically calculated, and if you see the quota resets in so many days, that means for that particular time, because see actions, it resets whatever the quota being given is monthly. Similarly, storage, it is not that way. It is because it is a consistent and persistence thing which remain on our services, so that will keep on going. But for this elsewhere, it resets in 1, 3, 4, 6 days. Okay, so these things, I think once you have an org setup, I think you can go to whatever we are learned through. Okay, repository roles. So you can actually go and see whatever, I think exactly the same whatever they have tried to explain us in the MS Learn module. Similarly, seeing the privileges which you have, say, or from that that particular organization account, what is the base you want to have? The base is admin. Okay, similarly, repository creations, what are you allowing members to create that, whether public, private, and internal. Now one important thing to note here is members will be able to create an internal repository. Okay, so read these through, because internal is kind of a inner source concept which we want to, which we are at the way we are contributing publicly, right? So internal is something an inner source concept which we do within an organization. Okay, otherwise if you want to keep everything secret, then obviously it's the private, and you all know about the public because we have been contributing over public. Similarly, if you want to, there will be obviously short question on that. I want to disable the forking. Okay, of the private and internal repository. How do I do that? So you have to select this particular option, or they will reverse it, can be uncheck option or check if you want to allow that if it is disabled. So that is how you have to remember those all terms and terminologies. Similarly, outside contributors are not the member of our organization. Remember that you are like they might have contributed to you previously, and that is the reason you wanted them to contribute to your internal repository or private repository or public repository, whatever way you look through. Okay, so that is how it is in our hand whether we allow them or not. Okay, at org level. So this is very elaborative from the permissioning perspective. Repositories, and then obviously page creations. I think there is not much on this, but just from the knowledge perspective, go through that. And from the visibility as well, I think we can allow the members to change from private to public or public to private, kind of those things, deletion and transfers. So there are tons of settings to go through. Obviously, if you have knowledge of working on the GitHub since more than 2+ years, I think you should know all of them. Okay, so this is, I would say, go through them before you actually like prepare for the, while you prepare for the exam, go through them so that you are already aware of those particular modules. Okay, now again, for each of the module, they will give you the knowledge check on that. So make sure you are getting through that for your own confirmation as well, that you understood that particular topic. So what they're trying to say is GitHub Actions, okay, on cross platform. Which of the platform most expensive? Obviously is Mac. When you want to upgrade from GitHub to the GitHub Enterprise, that means I may be using personal or Teams. I want to upgrade to the Enterprise. What should I like? Why should I go for that? To manage centrally, because you have, as I said, SSO single sign-on along with that SCIM. Okay, so that is the advantage of looking that. What is the purpose of team? Okay, as I said, team can be based on the version of that particular or the code. It can be org hierarchy, so that is what you have to select here. Okay, some group structure, or you want to cascade the permissioning, so that is what you will look through. Okay, so for each and every topic, I think you have to try this out. And as I said, ideally you will require a week of time to go at least for one particular exam. But I would say give sufficient time for you until you understand, and then accordingly move further on that. Okay, now coming to the how do you secure repository? So let me go directly to that. So here I think they will be providing you more on what are the health, or I would say the community files. So there, before going to this, I think I already have one. Yeah, so I will share this all links with you, because I'm just mixing and matching some documentation stuff which is better than this. So what are the default community files for the security perspective? Okay, first of all, where they can be created at root .github or docs. Okay, going ahead, what are those files and what are the purpose? Just read through the description. They may ask you respective file used for what. There can be question around that. Okay, similarly, while you create that and how you they have, I think this particular document gives you what you are the actually when you create a repository, what are the things they give you out of box, like readme in and add a GitHub ignore and add a license. That is what you get out of that, and rest all I think you need to have some templates of whatever the community files I'm talking through. Okay, so read through this will be helpful for you to come to that point. Okay, so now this I think these all things you will get from community help file. No need to read from this. But what is the difference between creating that security.md file, which notifies what is supported here? Okay, another is a security advisory. Now advisory is something which you want to try to fix privately before you release this to public, that yes, we have now fixed or patch for this. Now that is completely resolved. And obviously if there is a common vulnerability and exposure, you will also have a CVE number. So team, if you are completely new, I think most of my terms will be kind of confusing to you, or maybe you don't get connect to that. but I would say as you go through, I think you will understand that maybe through the recording afterwards. Okay, so common, this is a CV number for the exposure you will get, and while you configure that, I think there's a way to do that practically from the security advisory perspective. As I said, this exam is multiple choice. They are not giving you any practical things to try out. That is the reason I'm insisting you be thorough on concepts, and then whatever knowledge you got through your own working on the GitHub, I think that will help you get past this exam. Okay, now we know security.md that what is being supported from this. We know how to fix and how to release that once we fix that particular vulnerability. And then finally, obviously, if something is being sensitive and being committed to, how do we remove that? Okay, or what are the ways to ignore that doesn't get committed intentionally or unintentionally? Okay, so this is the file which is being used. This purely ignores based upon the pattern, because if you see the wildcards here, just see what they are ignoring. Ignore all files and folders to what depth. Okay, so this is kind of we say this is a array, capital D or small d, they are even going to that level. Okay, so that is how you can have these configurations in your repository in GitHub ignore files, git ignore files. Okay, similarly, if you know already that is being committed, obviously you need to, after this, what is the next step? How do you remove that sensitive data? So there are tools to that. I think we will come to that tools in the next topic. Okay, so there are tools. We have two tools for that which can remove. And finally, if there's a cache of that, you have to connect to the GitHub to remove that permanently. Okay, from the security perspective, as I said, first is obviously your health files, or knowing the structure around what are the health files, then knowing how do you take care of GitHub security advisories. As I said, advisory is to first of all do discuss internally, privately, and release the fix after you're done with that. Okay, so advisory is only after you fix that, or if there is any particular known vulnerability or CV number which provides us a fix or patch for that, you have to provide that in that particular security advisory. Okay, similarly, coming to the GitHub ignore, this is what we have talked about. Removing sensitive data, obviously there are tools. There's a topic dedicated for this. We are coming to this. And branch protection, obviously very important. If you consider the concept of GitHub flow, that means a main or production branch, and there you have n number of running branches based upon whether you are releasing feature sets, security fixes, or n number of things. We want our main production branches to be locked down. So that is how this is all about. Okay, so and how should we, or what are the automatic checks should be done before we commit to that? That means those particular actions should finish, or that workflow should succeed. All those things you can take care while you actually create these branch protection rules or protect your branch from committing directly to the production. Okay, and last but not least is the code owners. Okay, so code owners is nothing but you are running or maybe working on the different owners in that particular projects based upon the expertise. You can actually mention them based on the GitHub handle and what exactly they are taking care within that. Okay, so this is how the code owner. But I think the best part to be frank, which I did was or find out was this file, and then I drilled down to make it more precise to what I understood and how do I have to do for each of those health files. This was very helpful. That is the reason I will share this documentation later to you for your review. Okay. Now, again, you have some exercise to do as well at and some of those modules which we can go through. Okay. So this exercise, I think you can go through later. But in an exam, you won't get any exercise as such. Okay. But for your knowledge, I think it will be helpful. Now coming to the automated security, where exactly we need that and for what purpose? First of all, obviously the dependency management. Okay, so that is what we are saying here. And obviously, if you are working in your repository, you know all about these dependencies and what is all about the dependent bot. Okay, so this is how you work towards automating the dependency management. Okay, and security advisory, as we already talked about, you have to make sure you internally discuss internally, and then finally, because when you actually create that, it will be draft version, and finally you have to publish that once you're done with that particular advisory along with the CV number while it is raised. Okay, so that gives us a clear knowledge about now this is fixed with what patch and what action we need to take care of. Okay, so nothing much here. As I said, this I think is a part of your security, which obviously you will get through while you do the advanced security part. Okay, so nothing much I think I've got from here. Maybe I think you can just read through from what exactly is the secret scanning and all those things, code scanning. Okay, but ideally you won't get anything from this particular page. Okay, so again, coming to that, what is the best way? Make sure you're integrating the most secure version of your project dependencies. Okay, so obviously, project dependencies and independent bot. Suppose one of the source projects relies on the secrets kept in a folder called secrets. You would like to make sure the files kept in the folder or development machines are not inadvertently committed. So obviously, we want to protect this from getting committed. So obviously, the git ignore. Suppose someone has already committed, okay, secrets folder. What is the correct way to scrub that? I think we are coming to this I think I will show you in the next topic, because as I said, we have the waste with the help of tools, but we can't do fully get away with that because there is also cache which GitHub support can help us with that. That is the reason I think we'll select this option for that. Okay, so let us come to the next topic. Okay, so here is what I will be talking more on the tools. Okay, so here let's start with the policies. So I'm being quick here in interest of time, but at least you are getting the gist of what will be asked in exam, and make sure whatever the tips being provided, you use them through. Okay, so I think you can read through this is more over that files which I've told you the health from the health perspective. This is a look and feel of how the security policy look like. Okay, this is more towards reporting the vulnerability. Okay, and this is what the format and where it has to be kept. It is, I think health community files will teach you everything whatever is being listed here. So I think we have already covered that. Similarly, from the advisory perspective also, you can take care of those particular files. I think nothing much here. Just go through this what exactly, I think nothing will be asked, but for you understanding that how the level of interaction you have. Okay, from I think this is more towards getting your system up and running, and how what kind of action or the work you require based on the security condition of your repositories or the work you are doing on the code. Okay, so again, this is I think we covered security advices. Important part is this scrub. Okay, so there is obviously short may they will give you some options of the pre-commit hooks while you commit what it checks automatically. Okay, private keys, detect private keys, and something on what is available out of box. Okay, some secret files. So these are pre-commit hooks available for you to catch through the which is being sensitive data is being committed on your repository. Okay, and other ways to, as I said, you have two tools. One is called BFG repo cleaner tool, and how it has to be downloaded and done. I think they have given complete instructions. Similarly, there is git filter repo tool. Okay, these both the tools, how you use both the tools to remove the sensitive data is written in this. Okay, so most of the time they will ask you the names of those tools, but if they go further on towards that and respective maybe I think how what we installed or what are the command line, maybe they can ask you. Not sure to be frank what can be the next level for that, but then just go through that. If you are working practically over this, I think you will already remember these steps, but they are not giving you any exercise, so that is the reason I'm saying most concentrate on what kind of tools we are using. Okay, they remember these two tools from another thing which I told you what the help you require from the GitHub support. Okay, in what cases the private information removal requests are appropriate. So they have given you some. This also I think makes sense to which are the valid reasons where GitHub support will help you to remove that, whether that is really a security risk or not. Okay. Now, apart from this, removing the data, our logging is also an important part. So that you will learn from what are the log records we can have. And there will be sure shot of what GraphQL API is capable of, and there is what the REST API is capable of. Also remember the days the logs can be retained. Okay. Similarly, if you see the 90 days and 120 days are clear. And apart from that, I think GraphQL API cannot handle any of the GitHub events. So these are some points to remember. Similarly, the from the REST API it can handle, but it is only available for 7 days logging. And also there can be short question on what are the ways to export these logs. What are the extensions? JSON and CSV are the only ways you can export the report. Okay. So I think that is all in this particular. I think you can go through exercise. What file should you use to create documentation for collaborate that lists supported versions of the project? Okay, supported versions of the project, obviously from the security. What tool should you use to automate part of your security process? Okay, so add a dependent what? Which two pieces of information should be included in security advisories? So as I said, advisories should clearly mention the CV number and what kind of severity and product affected. So this is what will match here. Two pieces of information included in the organization's log. So here this is to do with who did that and what time it got committed. So this will be towards the user and the action it took. Okay. So as I said, this I did it. At least I've gone through this. That is the reason I remember most from the theoretical perspective. If you're working practically, I think still you have the access over that. Some terminologies over. Okay. So coming to the next module. Okay. So the authenticate and authorize. Okay, so identity now here it is very much in detail what we are supposed to look at. Okay, from SAML, these are the supported methods, and make sure the tip GitHub offers limited support from all identity providers that implement. So this can be one of the questions. Okay, so remember all the notes and tricks, also the terminology being used. To be frank, if you do this with some of the knowledge you have practically, you should all obviously be able to clear the exam. Okay, so this are the things you have to remember from the IDP. And obviously having making the, I think we already talked about public, private and internal repository. Okay, so that you should obviously have the knowledge about. And authenticating with the SAML, how you integrate that. They won't ask you, but what are the options to be selected for enabling single sign-on at the org level? Just remember this particular. And also remember, if you are a part of an enterprise organization, there is a different way to look at. See, after you enforce authentication for an organization, GitHub will then remove any members of an organization that have authenticated successfully with SAML LDP. This is at the org level, but see what it says at the enterprise level. GitHub will not remove the members of enterprise that have not yet authenticated successfully. So here, that means that member has still not logged on. And if you try to do the sync of the permissioning using this SSO or SCIM way, I think the member will be removed for here. Okay, so that is the reason it can be tricky at points. If you see the member of an enterprise, that means at the enterprise, if he holds or he's a member of that particular enterprise and yet not authenticate, the member will be prompted to authenticate next time. Okay, so remember this setting for enterprise. So ideally we are doing a mix match of whatever we are learning through these concepts. Okay, and this is towards the two-factor authentication and the everyone in the org. Options to two-factor authentication. What are the different ways of two-factor? I think this also can be the question in exam, saying that what are the different ways of having the two-factor authentication. Okay, so there is a security keys. Okay, well, that is a one way of looking for the two-factor authentication. Another is TOTP. Remember the difference, something which is being kept on the cloud. Backup of authentication code is TOTP. So I'm just giving you a hint. Remember that. SMS is obviously a way for us to authenticate. So these are, as you see, these are the two-factor authentication methods. Just go through them. I think it's from the name itself. I think you can understand the SMS or any particular app or whatever way we are using for that particular authentication. Now coming to the authorization, an automated way of authorization is only through system for cross-domain identity management. Okay, so what we are saying is apart from the SAML SSO, we are also implementing SCIM. Okay, so this is system for cross-domain identity management. What is help us is it help us to create groups so that we can manage the access permission directly by adding user to that group. Okay, and which are the identity providers supported for that? So that is what they have written. Okay, so that I think will be there. I think for these three, okay, which are supported for SCIM, Azure AD, Okta, and OneLogin. So this also will be one of the questions, but there will be also something on the authentication system itself. Okay, so SAML, LDP, and so this is more towards the what you can use. Okay, SS key and PAT. Okay, this is more towards the authentication and GitHub Enterprise automatically. If you want to use SS key and PAT, it's SAML SSO. So each time you make changes to the group membership in your LDAP will make a SCCM call to github.com to update the corresponding organization membership. Each time an enterprise member access a resource protected by enterprise SAML assertion will be triggering. Now also there will be also what exactly happens. Okay, that means when this happens, the SAML assertion will trigger provisioning. That what provisioning? Provisioning of that user. In that, suppose you're adding new user, so we are just added to your IDP, but how the GitHub knows that IDP that is being added to the so there's a sync between them, so it will trigger provisioning for that user to be available on GitHub. That is what is meant for. So sometimes these will be very confusing, but I think if you read through slowly, what we are just trying to say is with help of our SAML SSO, what we are trying to do is cross whatever we say. Okay, so this is cross identity system cross identity management. Okay, what trying to do here. So these are some different methods they have given. How do you authorize that? And as I said, for SSO, there are a lot more, but something which you can automatic provisioning of users in the form of groups, only 3. Remember these from the exam perspective. Similarly, like they are also given you the example of what support will not accept, or they will not provide you the appropriate justification or the resolution to your problem. If you are working on any of this, can also be one of the questions, out of scope kind of thing. Okay. Team synchronization, again, it will tie to your SCIM. Okay, so Azure AD and Okta is what is considered from the team synchronization perspective. So as I said, there are tons of documentation. You will at least need a week or so to go through them. But if you go through them, I think, as I said, at least you make some of the notes while you go through them. Also, in the users limits, what you can maximum have the members in one team. or members in one organization, just make note of that as well. How do you enable the team synchronization? And team synchronization is supported only for Azure AD and Okta. So remember, each of them has a different way to look at, right from your single SSO sign-on and then moving on to the cross identity management, and then finally coming to the team synchronization. Okay, so the questions will vary. You have to make sure you are appropriately taking decision on which identity provider supporting. And sure shot on Azure AD, what are the permissions required? So like something to look at from the permissioning. If there's one, they may be giving one of them. If there is multiple, I think you have to select all three of them. It can be anyway. Similarly, it can be anything on Okta as well. What exactly the enablement will be required on top of that? Okay, how do you disable that? So ideally, this is what you have to go through each module. So as I'm running short of time, I think I will come directly to the support part rather than going through the questions. Okay. So this is more towards an administration features what you have. Okay. So again, you have to read through the upkeep is something which you already have as an organization, and automation is something which you obviously want to have on top of that. Or how do you the automatic code scanning and all those things happens. Those all things will be available as a part of your GitHub Advanced Security. Workflow basics, I think you already know about. Repository visibility, I think again you can take care of. I think not much. I think to on this particular, but I think whatever we have covered so far should hold good for the tools you are using. Okay. So apart from that, I think not much here to concentrate on. Yeah. There will be sure short something on enterprise support and how that is being taken care of. Okay. So the what is from an enterprise support perspective is covered. Account level problems, security level and abuse is taken care, and what are the priorities they have for the tickets. So just that is what you have to remember from this particular module. And obviously there is a diagnostic file which you can provide to support, and how you do that, there will be also one question around this. So as I said, this is not a full-fledged. As I said, as I given you approximate questions based on the understanding of that particular topic. You are, I would say, skip if you don't know and come back at later. That is how you can save some of your time while clearing that particular exam. Now, scale, I think enterprise is again talking about the same thing, single sign-on capabilities. Okay. Now, APIs, remember this will be very useful. There are two APIs, REST API and GraphQL APIs. They may be asking you in some other way. Okay. Something again, this is the same thing repeated along with SCIM, SSO. Again, the same three things. Okay. And remember for GraphQL, what it can do, it cannot do the GitHub events. However, for the REST API, it can help you with the GitHub events. Events means what? Like something is happening in your repository, a pull request is being raised. All those things are not taken care by GraphQL, but however, it can be taken care with the help of REST APIs. Okay, and remember the logging 120 days and 90 days and all those things. So marketplace, obviously there will be something. How do you share the marketplace or what is available out of box for the enterprise server? For enterprise server, I think there will be a distinction between how those is available at org level, how that is available to the. So those all things they need to take care of. Okay, so like if I had to give an option, can I lock down not the public actions? Not actions should not be available. Then I can obviously do that from the org level or using the actions policy. Okay, so that I can take care of. So that which actions will be available to you, whether it will be for a specific organization or I have to select organization, or it should be none. That means I'm disabling it completely. So those all things, I think that is there in the other topic. I'm sharing that with you in a moment. The other thing on this topic is a EMU, the GitHub Enterprise Manage Users. So this is more towards how do we deal with the cloud accounts. Okay, so if you are don't want to invest in your own servers, then you can obviously create a cloud account. You will get a console, and from that console you will have a rights to actually create the name, what the name will look like, kind of a provisioning of your users, and that will be integrated with your GitHub as a account on that particular enterprise. So that is what is a EMU all about. Okay, so again they're giving you what is the difference between them. Okay, membership policies you can apply. So just read through. I'm just giving you the top of roof, like what exactly those concepts look like. Okay, and again the authentication and user provision is purely on IDPs and the SCIM which I talked about. Okay, so you have to remember all of them, and the use cases for using them is easy to manage at the enterprise level or board or any respective. Also there is one more thing you can remember is on the hosted machines versus the your own self-hosted agents. When you have to use them for self-hosted agents, obviously you can go ahead and do the your own machines, provisioning machines according to you, and how do you actually label them, and all those things will be very important, like self-hosted, what are the version or labeling towards that, like means Linux, Windows or Mac, and accordingly what is the architecture. So there will be short questions on that as well. Okay, so that obviously you have to get through as well. Now, so sorry team, apologize, I'm going a bit fast, but at least you got the gist of what I'm trying to explain you as a part of these modules. Okay, and managing GitHub actions in enterprise, I think we will see in the that particular GitHub actions as well. But I think while I share that, I think you can do both the modules. I think you can look here. I will at least open and show you what exactly we have here. It gives you the basic knowledge about how to use the GitHub across organization, which to allow. Okay, only allow local or only allow selected, enable for organization, enable for selected organization, or none. These are the policies you can set at the org or a specific organization. Okay, so this is what it flows from the with the GitHub actions policies. Okay. So this we will, I think, cover detail in the GitHub actions. So I just want to give you some time for Q&A is what we have covered till now. Okay. So in collections, I think this also we will have in the GitHub actions part. Okay. So what exactly we covered is the main what we covered from the GitHub administration perspective is what the GitHub is all about and how at what level you administer that. Coming to the products, how you buy and what is useful depending upon the product we have bought and what is a use case for that particular customer. Similarly, how do you secure repository? Remember all the health community files along with the how you do the security advisories and all those things along with securing the branches. Okay, then what are the sensitive tools or tools you should use to remove the data, and finally do the cleaning. So cache cleaning can only be done while calling to the support. Or also, I would say the simplest concept what we do at the end of the data is, if you remember, we have different merge terminologies, right? So the squash merge is what we use, but if you do the rebase, is actually your overwriting history. Okay, so that is what we are doing for this to remove that completely. Only the cache part we go to the GitHub and do that. Okay, so that is what we did. And authentication authorization, we covered all single sign-on identities GitHub supports along with SCIM. That is what you will have in this module. And finally, the GitHub administration for enterprise supports. See, this will be a bit, this topic will be a bit tough if you are have not worked on GitHub Enterprise server, but at least you know what exactly the things go in the from the server. You know something on cloud perspective. So at least support, remember the support options, urgencies, and what is taken care GitHub. So that should be helpful for you to clear that exam. Okay, and actions, and obviously this is something the way you create a workflow and some terminologies. Okay, so that's all for the GitHub administration perspective.